Welcome to Reimagining Chapel. My name is Amanda Esco, and I am the director of the Religious Education Program here at the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. Thank you for joining us. Let's start off by lighting our chalice. Now, I know a lot of you have chalices at home. Pause your video, go run and get it, and then come right back, okay? All right, I have my chalice right here. So since you're back with me, I'm just sure, let's light our chalice. Symbol of light, symbol of knowledge, symbol of warmth, symbol of freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. This week in the United States, we celebrated a holiday. Who knows what it is? We celebrated Thanksgiving. It's a very Unitarian holiday, you'll find out with our UU of the week. And it's also a day for us to remember and try to heal with telling true stories, as we'll hear in our Wonder Box segment. So get ready to talk all about Thanksgiving today, friends. Let's start off by doing the healing body prayer that we've been working on this month together. I invite you to stand on up if you're willing and able. We've started this by placing our hands at our hearts, remembering that we are one within ourselves, taking a deep breath in and out. We move our hands out front because we are here to give and share to others. We move our hands to the sky to remind us that we are one with the universe. And we lower our hands down back to our heart to remind us to be true to ourselves. Let's do that one more time. You ready? Standing up, putting our hands to our heart, centering us within ourselves. Moving our hands out to serve others, up, reminding us we are one with the universe, and back down to our own hearts. Thank you for moving with me today. We've been talking all month about how the movement can heal us when our spirits are maybe out of line or we just need to center. Now, I want to do one more healing act, and it's share our joys and concerns with one another. I know that there are people around you, a parent, a grandparent, a dog, a cat, maybe it's your fish or your pet rat. And share with them what's going well, maybe what isn't going so well that you need help with. They want to hear, they want to help. So go tell them your joys and concerns. I'll be right here waiting for you. Thank you for sharing your joys and concerns with everyone that loves you. It's an important part of our healing as human beings is to share what's on our hearts and on our minds. Thank you for being brave. Now, onto our UU of the week with a very Thanksgiving twist. And this is actually someone that was brought to my attention by our own Reverend Goldsmith. So, thank you, Reverend Goldsmith. Today's UU of the week is a bit of a special one, friends. It's not necessarily one singular person, but a person and the holiday they helped institutionalize in the American consciousness. Reverend Allison Wilbur Eskeldinson wrote this beautiful story to summarize Sarah Hale and her accomplishments. Sarah Josephia Hale, a Unitarian ancestor, wanted a Thanksgiving holiday. Not to memorialize the Pilgrims, though, but to create a national day of unity during a very divisive time in our country. Sarah was born in 1788, just as America was becoming an independent nation. By the time she was grown and had a family of her own, America had completely forgotten the Thanksgiving meal. It was not a national holiday, but Sarah hadn't forgotten it. In 1827, Sarah wrote a book in which she described a Thanksgiving meal likely to break on most tables. Turkey, beef, pork, lamb, duck, and chicken were all served, along with gravy, stuffing, vegetables, bread, and pickles. For dessert, there was plum pudding, custards, cakes, fruit, pies of every description, most notably pumpkin. Wine, cider, and beer topped off the fare. Her description became the model for the ideal Thanksgiving dinner. Sarah didn't stop with the description. When she became the editor of Goody's Ladies' Book and Magazine in 1836, she began a campaign to make Thanksgiving a national holiday on the same day celebrated throughout the country. Sarah, the Oprah of her time, wrote articles in which her widely read magazine, people took up this cause of a Thanksgiving holiday and wrote letters to their local and state politicians. Sarah wrote to presidents. First, Zachary Taylor. He said no. Then Millard Fillmore. He said no. Then President Franklin Pierce. He also said no. She wrote to President James Buchanan. He said no. She wrote to Abraham Lincoln. He said yes. After 30 years, Sarah's persistence paid off. President Lincoln agreed because the nation was in the midst of the Civil War. North and South were divided by the issue of slavery. Like Sarah, Lincoln believed a national day of thanks would help bring the country together. So in 1863, he proclaimed the world's first public legal holiday. Long before Lincoln proclaimed it in 1863, though, Sarah indicated her hopes for the holiday. In an 1858 article entitled Our National Thanksgiving, she wrote, and this was in Goody's Ladies' Book in July to December 1858. Let this day, from this time forth, as long as our banner of stars floats the breeze, be the grand Thanksgiving holiday of our nation, when the noise and tumult of worldliness may be exchanged for the laugh of happy children, the glad greetings of family reunion, and the humble gratitude of the Christian heart. Let us consecrate the day to benevolence of action by sending good gifts to the poor and doing those deeds of charity that will, for one day, make every American home the place of plenty and of rejoicing. She highlighted America's common values: compassion, humility, and gratitude. In the midst of our divisions, Sarah wanted us to stop and notice that we have so much in common. When Lincoln made the national holiday official, he invited citizens to, quote, heal the wounds of the nation and restore it as soon as may be consistent with the divine purposes to the full enjoyment of peace, harmony, tranquility, and the union. Thank you, Reverend Eskeldinson, for this summary of Sarah's life and the Thanksgiving holiday. As Unitarians, we are wont to reflect on the experience on the life we are living now. We live with gratitude for our actions today, but as time has gone on, we have begun to see how the stories we've created, thanks in part to Sarah Hale, need reflection on their impact on others. Let's see what's inside our Wonder Box today. It's a boat like the Pilgrims sailed on. The story of Thanksgiving is complicated. Really, really complicated. And unfortunately, like a lot of stories told over and over again, the truth about what happened at that first Thanksgiving and what has happened since is not always told correctly. Today, I have a story to tell you from a person named Isabel Call. It's called A Thanksgiving Reflection. I want to tell you about my bicycle. The frame is a sparkly kind that has blue all over it and pink handlebars with tape. And guess what color the wheels are? Lime green. I love my bicycle. Now, suppose this bicycle was your bicycle. And suppose one day you biked to school and totally forgot to lock up your bike when you got there. And then when it was time to leave, you went outside to get your bike and no bike was stolen. Oh! Okay, so you had to get a ride home and figure out how to get to school from now on. Then, in our class next week, someone brings in a sculpture of a turkey they've made. It has a sparkly blue body and pieces of metal all around it, and a big round tail with a lime green circle around it, and pink feet curving underneath it, and a bicycle seat for a head. In fact, the whole thing is made from your bicycle. And you realize it's yours. Your former stolen, cut up bicycle into pieces. But before you can say anything to your classmates, they're all cheering, and the principal decides to make the sculpture the new school mascot. And she institutes a new school holiday called Turkey Creativity Day, and every year from now on, everybody gets to spend the whole day making art. Now, nothing against creativity, but this is kind of a nightmare, right? I'm telling you this story because it's basically the story of Thanksgiving, except Thanksgiving is way worse. I started writing and saying Thanksgiving instead of Thanksgiving because in popular culture, we've come to see Thanksgiving as a commemoration of a friendly feast shared by indigenous people and European settlers. But this is like Turkey Creativity Day, a really nice idea that covers up the theft and treachery that actually happened. Although both indigenous and Europeans had feasts expressing gratitude during harvest time, the Europeans who arrived on this continent by boat were incredibly destructive to indigenous peoples' communities. The Wampanoag man, often celebrated as a friend to the Pilgrims, spoke English because traders had enslaved him and forcibly taken him to England. When he finally escaped and made his way back home, his community had all died from smallpox that his captors had left behind. He was friendly to the Pilgrims who moved into the land of his people because none of his own people were left. He was able to find work with the Pilgrims as a translator and helped them negotiate treaties. But as we know, treaties between European settlers and the indigenous people of our country have not been honored by their new arrivals. And although there's some evidence of a shared meal between the indigenous people and the Europeans in 1621, the holiday may have actually started a few decades later, in May of 1637, when English and Dutch mercenaries attacked the tribe. They killed over 700 people. And the next day, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of Thanksgiving in celebration. Since then, various governors and presidents called for days of Thanksgiving to commemorate various events. But it didn't get formalized into an annual holiday until Abraham Lincoln chose a Thursday in November in 1863 to celebrate Civil War victories. Now, nothing against gratitude, but the legacy of Thanksgiving is a nightmare. The 400-year-old story we've heard about harmony between different people of different backgrounds just isn't true. The United American Indians of New England have commemorated a national day of mourning every fourth Thursday in November since 1970. They write, Thanksgiving Day is a reminder of the genocide of millions of Native people, the theft of Native lands, and the relentless assault of Native culture. Participants in National Day of Mourning honor Native ancestors and the struggle of Native peoples to survive today. It is a day of remembrance and spiritual connection, as well as of protest against racism and oppression which Native Americans continue to experience. It may be uncomfortable to hear this as you reflect on the Thanksgiving meal we had this week and all our festivities. We celebrate Thanksgiving because gratitude is essential to human life. But grief is essential to our healing, our history of violence. It's really hard to be thankful and sorrowful at the same time. But this is life. Sometimes joy and sometimes sorrow come together. As we reflect on the story of Thanksgiving, I encourage you to reflect on the gratitude with which you have in your life, but also honor the people who came from this land before and learn about their stories as we move into the future so we can best help them and support them in their work in the world. Thank you for joining us for Reimagining Chapel. To find out more about the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City, please visit us at slcuu.org. But until next time, let's heart out.
One, each person is important. Two, be kind in all you do. Three, we help each other learn. Four, and search for what is true. Five, all people have a say. Six, one for a peaceful world. Seven, the web of life's away. And we fight